thank you all for coming. This is our supply chain panel. So we have 4 of our supply chain management alumni here today. I'll introduce them and we'll have some question and answer with them. And then whomever in the audience would like to ask questions. It's great to see everybody here, and I'm glad that y'all are interested in supply chain management. And if you're not a major, please come talk to me, or who else is here? Dr. Robbins is here, Teresa Dantzler, Professor Dantzler is here, so please come talk to us, right? And we can gladly talk to you about the major, double concentration, and all kinds of good things that happen, right? Sorry. This is just part of getting old. So, I used to be able to read that, but not anymore. I'm Dr. Cross. It's great to see you all. And Dr. Flaska is here now. See, he's coming in. Pretty much on time, too. So who do we have today? On our panel today, first here on my left first is Jake Boltz. He's an industrial account manager for Border States. He'll tell us a little bit about that and what it is, but he was a 2019 supply chain management graduate. He attended the ISM conference in 2029 in Houston that we went to, and he was also an officer in the ISM club, I think 18 and 19, I believe. Yes? Yep. Very good. All right. So there's Jake. Yeah. And then Jessica next. Jessica is actually, like you've got two last names now, right?
Yeah, I haven't legally changed my last name yet after getting married, so I'm going by both.
Yes. It was Jessica Pupil when I knew her, but now it's Jessica Cooper. So very, very good. Congratulations, Jessica. She's a category inventory manager for Carhartt. She was a 2018 supply chain undergrad and attended the ISM conference in 2028 in Nashville. And she was an officer from 17 to 18, I believe, for the ISM club. She's also been at Border States. I think Jake and her started just about the same time. She then moved on to Advanced Auto Parts and now at Carhartt. So she's got a story to tell us about the journey that she's taken. So next, Sydney Farmer. She's a fulfillment manager at Kinexo. And she's a 2020 supply chain undergrad graduate, and then also got her MBA in 2021. She was an ISCM officer in 2021, I believe. Yeah. Okay. She's also at the same company she started in the beginning. She'll tell us some information about that. And then finally, Andrew Page down at the far end. Andrew's a sales specialist at Elite Truck in Little Washington down the road. He's a 2023 graduate of our supply chain management program. He was 2022, he went to the CSCMP conference, and he did work for Ryder Truck before he moved on to Elite Truck. So the panel, as you see them, I like to bring back folks that have been out a little bit and then a little longer, so you get an idea of what their journey has been and how they've gotten to where they are. And so that's kind of my first question is, and anybody who wants to answer it, however you want to pass the mic, I'll say is, how did you get to where you are now? If you don't mind, Andrew, maybe take it away.
Yeah, so as Dr. Cross said, I started at Ryder right out of college in 2023. I was there for about 2 years. Actually, I think like on my 2-year anniversary, that was my last day, so that's exciting. And it was good. It's probably some of y'all's speeds more than mine, maybe. I don't enjoy everybody always coming to me with their problems and usually upset by the time they get to me. But, you know, if that's your thing and you like solving that, here's your spot. But then I just recently, about 5 months ago, went to Elite Truck in Little Washington. We pretty much just do commercial truck and van equipment, things like that. So I'm more on the sales side now. So having a good time with that, that's growing. So yeah, that's pretty much me.
So for me, I had a couple of internships throughout my college career. It taught me what I did not want to do for the rest of my life. Once I did that, I went to grad school because COVID was everywhere, and decided to keep going to school instead of trying to find a job in that. Afterwards, graduated, and it was more of a word of mouth opportunity that got my foot in the door at Kinexo. I started as the inventory manager, and then a year into that, I became the fulfillment manager.
in city, Europe and Rocky Mountain?
Rocky Mount,
Rocky
yep.
Mountain, okay.
Hi, I'm Jessica. So out of college at ECU, I actually got my first job from the ECU Career Fair. So I'm gonna plug that there, go to the Career Fair, it can help you get a job. But I took a position at Border States where Jake still works now, and I was lucky enough to be in a rotational program. So I got to kind of try out different aspects of the company to see what I liked. So I worked in areas like project management, warehouse management, inventory, as well as pricing. And that's how I learned I really loved working in inventory management. So unfortunately, there weren't a lot of positions for me at Border States to pursue that. So I accepted a position at Advanced Auto Parts as a supply planner. So what I would do as a supply planner is I would order all of the product in from our vendor partners to fulfill our distribution centers that would ultimately fulfill our retail stores. So after a few years of that, I accepted a promotion as a demand planner. So I would predict the product that we needed about 12 months in advance to fulfill our DCs and stores at any given time. And now I'm with Carhartt. So I started with Carhartt in January, so I'm still pretty new, only about 9 months in, but I'm still within the inventory planning department. Kind of what I do now is, the gist of it is I match supply with demand. So it sounds really simple, but a lot goes into it. So I make our merchandising team's forecast plans come to life by working with our capacity planners that we have in our manufacturing facilities around the world.
And, sorry, Jessica, where are you at with Carhartt? Are you in Raleigh or are you in, sorry, where?
Yeah, I work from home in Raleigh, but our corporate office is in Detroit.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, so Jake here. I'd say I owe Jessica a lot of credit to being where I'm at right now. Knew Jessica in college, again, connected with her at the career fair when she came down. And being a senior, I knew I wanted to get in a trainee rotational program, kind of get a feel for a lot of different things. Border States had locations where, in cities that I could only dream of living. So, got assigned to Charleston, and I'm still in Charleston. So going through that rotation program, it's mainly tailored towards operations. But at some point, someone kind of approached me and said, "Hey, you'd probably be pretty good at the sales side." So we kind of customized my experience and tailored it to more of the sales side. And so account management was kind of my main goal immediately. And just through some opportunities and some luck, I was able to kind of get one of those positions right away. And here we are.
Good, thank you all. So with that, all those things that you all said, the next area I'd like to talk about is how when you hear, obviously we all come in as freshmen or some version of that, right? Then at some point in time, the light went on or the bells and whistles went on and you said, I'd like to check out that supply chain stuff. How did that happen? So some of the folks here, again, hint, right, that are maybe thinking about supply chain management, you could hear the story and say, oh, I could do that too, right? And the folks that are already in, good choice, right? I see my students out there. So Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, so like anyone coming in freshman year, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I started out as a poli-sci major and quickly realized I did not care about that. So I knew business was kind of my path. I started with international business, and I think it was maybe a semester or two after I started there, I realized that to finish that degree, I'd probably be here for 5 years, and I didn't want to do that either. That, looking back on that now, it's kind of a mistake too. At that time, I was in the intro to supply chain management and really liked the concepts. And this was kind of before supply chain was a big buzzword. People really didn't know what it meant. And I tell my parents I'm doing supply chain, had no clue what it was. But now I think more people realize just how valuable the industry is, and it is a great career path. There's a lot you can do.
Nice. I have a similar story to Jake maybe. In 2014, when I came to college, I didn't know what supply chain was. I was coming in as a business major. My dad has his undergraduate degree and his MBA from the ECU College of Business, and he had a very successful career, so I knew I wanted to be in the College of Business. I started out as a marketing major, and like Jake, I took that first required supply chain course that you have to take in the College of Business, and I was like, hey, I really like this. And I was at my annual appointment with my advisor to get my classes put together for the next semester, and he convinced me to add supply chain on as a second concentration. He helped me work through my class schedule so that I could still graduate in 4 years, which was really, really great. And I'm so glad he talked me into it. I love working in supply chain. If you like numbers, I'm sure you enjoy it. I like knowing the why behind things, and I like seeing a process from end to end, so it's been really great for me.
So mine is a little bit different. I was fortunate when I was in high school for someone to say to my mom that he was telling his children supply chain. Didn't know what it was, looked into it and thought, okay, let's put 2 and 2 together. Everything really has some sort of supply chain, whether it be medical, food service, production. So I went into the food service side because have you guys eaten today? Will you eat today? Probably, I hope so. So there is something on everything that you could do with supply chain, and for me, that was just a no-brainer. Business degree, you can do pretty much anything with. So that was my path going straight out of high school.
All right, so I guess I got something that they didn't maybe, but because I was in college when COVID happened, so I actually started out at Art College in Wilson for my first 2 years, and then transferred over here for my junior year. So that was right in the midst of it. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I was more on the business side, and I think COVID opened everybody's eyes to kind of supply chain and how everything works in that manner. And honestly, I did it for job security and job demand. I knew that I wanted to have a job when I got out of college, and I knew that I didn't want to worry about not having a job. And I mean, everybody's always going to need something. Manufactured, transported, returned, no matter what it is, they're going to need it. And also the versatility in it. I mean, now I'm on the sales side. I don't deal with as much of the logistical stuff and everything like that, so I'm a little bit more separated than these guys, but still, I mean, you can pretty much use the knowledge from supply chain to move just about anywhere you want to be.
Very good, thank you. Let me ask you a question. If I remember correctly, Jessica, were you at double concentration marketing as anyone else? I don't know. Were you also? Yeah, Cindy. So tell us a little bit about that. Blatant plug again, all right? Ready, guys and gals? Okay, tell us a little bit how that worked.
So when I was coming through, there was no dedicated supply chain degree. So mine was a marketing degree with a concentration in supply chain management. I think, is there now a dedicated supply chain program?
Yes, there is. Yes, you can get a BSB in supply chain management. Yes.
Yes. So for me, if I was younger and was going through college now, I would have chosen the supply chain program. So I did it in the best way that I could with what we had at the time. I mean, I still like the little bit of marketing that I remember from college, but I really hang my hat on the supply chain concentration.
Yeah, maybe similar for me. I've only worked in supply chain in my career so far, but working or having that concentration in marketing too, I feel like makes you pretty well-rounded. I feel like you can have a better foot in the door on conversations, maybe at work that I'm having now with cross-functional partners. I know what they're saying, I understand what they're saying because I also took those marketing courses.
Good. We mentioned earlier about a rotational program, Jessica. Can you, maybe some of us understand that? Can you tell us a little bit more and if anybody else was, I don't know, were you in a rotational program? Yeah. What that is and what that means and how it helps you or why companies do this?
Sure. So Jake and I were actually in the same rotational program. If you didn't pick that up by now, I was just a year ahead of him. So at Border States, the rotational program, no, I've been out for a while, so Jake might have a better answer, but you got to kind of spend 3 to 4, maybe 6 months, depending on the department, like being a part of that department, working in it, getting to see the ins and outs of it, and then like once you kind of closed your projects, you got to move to the next one. So like I said, I worked in project management, so that was eye-opening, kind of what you said, like when people get to you, they're already mad, so that was interesting right out of college. And then I worked in warehouse management, which I think was probably the greatest rotation I did. It gave me a lot of respect for workers in a warehouse, and now I work with a lot of distribution center workers, so it gives you good ins and outs. I was forklift certified. I was in there, I was putting the stuff away. And then I did pricing, which kind of helped me learn how to work with numbers and large data sets a little bit more. And then ultimately inventory management, which I came to love. But Jake, I'll let you answer too.
Yeah, so Border States, it's a 2-year program. So, like Jessica said, you start, in the warehouse and kind of work your way up through there. With mine, I guess mine kind of got more customized to the sales side. So wasn't really doing the purchasing and the inventory planning, but, you kind of get up to counter sales, inside sales, project management, quotations, and just get a feel for a little bit of everything. It's a great way to just kind of put yourself out there, and also the benefit with that was if a branch somewhere across the country needed help, they could kind of deploy you out to help those branches, and it really got your hands on and kind of got you in some pressure situations right away. That's obviously where you're learning the most.
Good, thank you, Jake. Let me ask you, Andrew, we talked a little bit outside just briefly before we came in here, and you were telling me that since you moved jobs, you kind of moved to a place that was smaller, and it's growing. Tell us about what that was like going into some place that was a little smaller, and now, and it's a good thing to grow, right? You don't want to do the other thing. You don't want to not grow or decrease. Tell us a little bit about that and how you're dealing with it right now.
Yeah, so I think it's very exciting. Because Ryder is obviously a huge company. I specifically was working with High Street Yale, doing inbound shipments for parts and things for their forklifts. And what I found, it's great working for a big company. You get all the good benefits and everything like that, and there's nothing bad about it really. But something that you get working, I think we have 40 employees now, and when I started it was probably 30 or something like that. So it's a lot of fun, honestly, because if you have an idea or you have something that you notice that can change or that you can do better as an organization, everybody's right there. You don't have to go up the ladder command or anything like that, and all the tape that you have to do with a bigger organization. You can just say, hey, I think this could help us, and then you're sitting there with the CEO of the company, and he's like, I agree, and so then you just do it, and that's been really rewarding for me, just being able to push things and say, it's just an open book, because nobody really knows what we're doing.
Very good, thank you, Andrew. And Cindy, do you have anything? I don't know the size of the company you're working for in Rocky Mount, but go ahead.
So Kinexo has about 80 to 90 employees. We are owned by McLean. So they are our parent company, so we get to do a couple of things just because they're our parent, but at the same time, they're also one of our customers. We've got over 300 distribution centers across the United States and a handful outside of the U.S. that we deal with. But for being such a small team, I've got a team of 7, and we're dealing with all of these people to get product from point A to point B, and then they are the ones who ship it to the actual restaurants. But it's kind of like Andrew was saying, when you've got a smaller company, you can be in boardroom meetings and it's not just your boss, it's your boss's boss, and for me that's the president of the company. and to just have open conversation with him and other directors in the company, and they take your word for what it's worth. You have a seat at the table. That is something that is very beneficial from a smaller company.
Very good, thank you, Sydney. Shifting gears just a little bit is, I think we all want to know this question. I want to know it as a professor is, what were the things that you were taught here or that you learned here, you took away from ECU? Doesn't have to be just in the classroom, it can be all over, that you believe helped you get your job, helped you stay in your job, and help you today. What are some of those things?
I know for me, I would say the college experience as a whole, just being interpersonal, and I think I'm a firm believer that soft skills and things like that are the biggest thing that you can do. The people that you're sitting beside that are in your classes, your professors, I know Dr. Cross helped me and pointed me in the right direction from my first job out of the gate. They're going to be your best references. They're going to be the people. It is pretty much who you know. I mean, in a saturated place of LinkedIn and wherever else where you're applying for a job that has 5,000 applicants, you know, what's going to set you apart? It's going to be probably somebody that you met in college. That's how I have my job now. My roommate, that is still my roommate, started working there. He was the 6th guy they hired. And he was like, hey, you should come over here. He referred me. I think the soft skills, being able to talk to people, being able to be transparent, that's going to be what helps you the most.
So raise your hand if you like being on a team where you have to work with others to accomplish something to get a good grade. Guess what? It's not going to stop when you walk across the stage, okay? So the sooner you can learn, like the storming, norming, forming, all those, I have sat in many a conference as a business professional now, and I'll sit there and like, I remember that slide from class. So it is something that really will be with you until you're no longer working. So learning how to work with others for management, how to make other people want to do better, how to push them, how to encourage them. That is a big thing that if you can start it now while you're in college, it will pay off later down the road for you. So that would be my biggest piece.
I definitely agree with what Sydney and Andrew said. I'm going to lean more technical just because I think they covered it well. I'm not sure if you guys still have to take MIS classes, but take them seriously. Retain the information. I don't think I retained the information, and then I had to learn Excel all over by myself while also trying to do a job. I use Excel in my job all day, every day. Like I have at least 10 spreadsheets open at any given time. So learn as much as you can in Excel or all of Microsoft. You'll use it, and you'll have a leg up on other job candidates if you can use it. The last 2 jobs I've had, I had to take an Excel test in my hiring process, so it's becoming very vital.
Yeah, I mean, you know, these 3 kind of touched on everything I would have. Absolutely soft skills, teamwork, you know, the technical aspect. Dr. Falaska, I don't know if you still teach the 2, remind me what the names of those are, I'll give you a plug.
The business decision modeling 3223.
Yes, both of those were incredibly valuable classes. You know, I'm really, I'm kind of a little bit removed from using Excel on a day-to-day basis, but some of the other data tools are very valuable. But yeah, I mean, I have little, you know, cheat sheet guides that I kept after those classes that, you know, I would kind of look back on. And you know, again, I'm a little bit removed, so I'm a little rusty on those tools. The other day I was trying to do a VLOOKUP function. I could not get it to hit, and so I need to brush up a little bit, but yeah, super helpful.
No, very good, very good. And I'm being honest, full disclosure, that was not a plug for Excel work, right? I did not tell you Jessica to do that, because if you didn't have said it, I would have said it, and I would have pointed to Dr. Flaska back there and said, you know. So, just saying, Excel's very helpful. It is. And Professor Dancer will tell you that too. So let's do this. If you can think of a time, and I'll say this, that maybe I can say challenging, difficult, maybe the strangest supply chain event that you've encountered in your career so far? Could be a short one, could be a long one, whatever you've got. Let's talk.
I guess short answer, COVID. So I'm in the electrical distribution industry, and COVID really messed us up. I mean, before those days, you could get, so electrical gear, panel board, switch gear, that's kind of our big ticket items there. Before COVID, you could get those in a couple weeks, couple months, no problem. After COVID, it would take 72 weeks, and still does, to get switch gear. I mean, I've got a transformer that is 4 years out, and it's like, how do you plan for that? And I feel like a lot of industries have recovered from some of those supply chain challenges during the COVID times. We have not, and we're still trying to figure it out. We've got a lot better at navigating that, and our customers have, I don't want to say they've come to expect, some of these challenges. It's still, you're still telling someone pretty unfortunate news every day. I mean, that just really messed a lot of things up. And again, I mean, we're still trying to figure out how to recover from that. But a couple different solutions we've worked together on to, we're a distributor. We're starting to build our own switch gear, which is unheard of 4 years ago. Really reduce those lead times, and it's also a way to make a lot of money. So yeah, just putting together some solutions like that.
Very good.
Jake took mine. I was gonna say COVID as well, but mine may be more of when I graduated with a supply chain degree, most people didn't know what COVID was, or supply chain was, and then COVID hit, and all of a sudden everyone's a supply chain, knows everything about it. So that was kind of a lot. But also, I started at Advanced Auto in December of 2019, so right before the pandemic hit. So it's very interesting to be learning a new job while the supply chain had just been thrown out of whack completely. So that was interesting. And then I also have a silly or strange event. When I was a supply planner at Advanced, at one point in time, one of my categories that I managed was floor mats. So floor mats in vehicles. Was waiting on this big buy to come in. We were gonna set our stores with all these new floor mats, and my container falls off of the cargo ship. So I actually learned that that's a little bit more common than you think, but I thought that was a funny or silly, strange event that happened to me.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Jesse.
So for me, being in the food service industry, I get to know about certain promos before they go to market. One thing that we did was a couple years ago when the Barbie movie came out, and it was such a big deal. Well, companies like, think of McDonald's, Tropical Smoothie, wherever, that have specialized cups that are running a movie promo. Well, sometimes we have to ship those directly out to the actual restaurant chain. I've sent out FedEx or UPS shipments of our product we bought for commercial use, like commercials as in on TV, that they're using what we have sent them to record and film for their commercials. So you never know what you're going to get in a day, which is what I love, because it's never the same thing twice. So that always keeps things really interesting.
Good.
Well, I haven't been going as long as these three over here. I'm sure I have a lot ahead of me that I could definitely talk about. I'd say probably the strangest thing personally for me, when I was in college, or I guess before I was working, I hated watching the news. And I know Dr. Cross does that in a lot of his classes. He'll go over stuff and I'll be like, what are we doing again? No, but now, like tariffs right now and things like that, and how quickly things can change, staying up to date on things like that, because I talk to customers hundreds of them a day about stuff, and they're gonna ask you. And it's interesting to see how, different manufacturers and different companies move when things like that happen, which ones will thrive and which ones kind of take a hit on that. And it drives a lot of change, and it drives a lot of, changing in spending habits of the economy and everything like that. So I would say maybe start watching the news, even if you hate it, just at least read something. stay up to date.
Thank you, Andrew. Which segues into maybe the next question I was going to ask, and then we'll turn it over to questions to the audience here. I wrote down, any trends, opportunities, challenges that you see in the supply chain or the supply chain realm. Mentioned tariffs. I know that word is now, ubiquitous all over the place. So, what do you see? I mean, I hear AI a lot too, and I just wonder what does that mean in the supply chain?
Yeah, so I'll touch on the AI. It's honestly crazy. Things that are happening now. It's kind of like, can this computer do my job? I'm not sure. But I mean, I know that we use it as a company now and are starting to grow to use it more to handle, more maybe minute issues and things like that. To that aspect, I do think that, AI, as I said in my first point, is it going to be able to have the soft skills and isn't going to be able to talk to people how I think people are growing to learn, I won't call it not talk to AI and not talk to whoever. I want to talk to a real person. So we've seen a ton of that and gotten a lot of great feedback on just people, calling us and being able to get a real person on the phone.
Very good.
So, in talking about trends, for us, we see holiday weeks being so much crazier because you've got to think people are going to be traveling, so they're going out to eat more, therefore the restaurants need more food. That Mother's Day, funny enough, is one of the big days for us because moms don't really want to cook, I guess, on Mother's Day, and people go buy food for mom. But seeing those trends and then being able to know, hey, let's go ahead and be proactive for those weeks because we're going to be short a day. The volume is already higher. That's one thing that you just always have to keep in the back of your head.
Sure, and I'll touch on tariffs a little bit. I'm not on the tariff task force at my company, so I'm not super close to it, but just to kind of explain to you guys how maybe that would impact inventory or the supply chain. So like when a cost goes up, that would directly impact me as an inventory planner because if the price of our product is going up, are as many people going to want to pay that for this product? So then we have to figure out, do we need to lower the demand? Is there time to lower the demand? Has manufacturing already begun? Is it on the water already? Has it arrived at our distribution centers already? And if we don't think that we're going to sell that much, what are we going to do with this excess inventory? So that's kind of where like the creative part kicks in for me.
Yeah, I guess tariffs and AI both affect me every day. As a distributor, there's not much I can do as far as, how I plan for tariffs, and manufacturers are going to have their price increases, and, it's kind of my job to go to customers and communicate how that's going to affect them, as well as kind of staying on top of our pricing and making sure that we're not, losing margin as manufacturers increase their price. AI I don't feel threatened by AI with my job because there's nothing that can beat me going into a customer, sitting face to face and, kind of talking through their challenges. But they have deployed it in our inventory management. We're on, I guess I don't know if it's a company or software, but a gain system that, kind of tracks our inventory movements and will adjust our, ROP levels, reorder point levels. That's something that is and there's been a lot of challenges with that. I think, there's still a lot of benefit to a person kind of sitting behind and monitoring that, but, hopefully over time that will, become better.
Very good, very good. We've got maybe about 10 minutes left. Are there any questions from anyone? I'll gladly bring the mic over to you and ask away. So,
first off, I want to thank you guys for coming here and being able to speak to us and give us advice and kind of teach us what you guys do. My first question is, what would you guys recommend a small business owner to do to find a reliable supply chain?
I'd say don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's kind of what the root cause of a lot of these issues that I've seen from, and I don't know what kind of small business you're, dealing with or starting, but, we're seeing a lot of these, it's like, these big manufacturers are all buying from the same downstream, upstream suppliers, and, and they're all having the same issues, obviously, like everyone's backed up, and so, I think some resiliency there would have helped a lot, where, you could kind of pivot from one supplier to another, so that's probably what I would say.
That was a good answer, because I didn't have one, but I'll feed off of Jake's. Similar to what he said, not putting all of your eggs in one basket. I know Carhartt isn't a small company by any means, but something we learned in COVID is that, like, if you're familiar with Carhartt product, like think of like a pocket t-shirt that we had in the color black. It's one of our #1 selling products. The plant went down during COVID. No more black pocket tees. Now we're going to manufacture that product in 4 or 5 facilities so that if one goes down, we have a backup plan.
Pretty much what they said. For me, for us, a lot of our things are actually proprietary. We can't sell the tropical smoothie cup to anybody else because it has, the logo. So when there is an issue with a supplier or, a container falls off the ship, you've got to wait, you've got to reorder, and all we can do is tell the customer, hey, can't fix it. Here's an alternative. It may be a non-printed item, but that's where we come in to try to come up with some different solutions.
They kind of hit the nail on the head. I hate to be on the end on this one, but I will say, I'm not sure what you're trying to do. I know that I think mixing it up is a great plan. Even going out of the realm, like if you sell, for instance, we sell a lot of ladder racks, and we have one ladder rack manufacturer that we get from, a few different people. And so if they're out of it, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. But then I would also say if something happens to that plant or something like that happens, having other options for, like, have another brand that is comparable. Maybe not the best, you can smooth that over, but having something else to offer, customers or whatever it might be, would be a huge help.
Thank you. Anyone? Yeah, sir.
I'd also like to thank you guys for coming today. It's my first supply chain management thing I've been to for ECU, so this is pretty awesome. Over the summer, I interned at Wonderell, a supply chain management company out of Orlando, Florida. Advance is actually one of the largest clients. What I'd like to ask Jessica is that over the summer, I got to see that every company really has their own way of doing things. There's no standardization. It's kind of insane. What was the biggest shock going from Advance to Carhartt, or like if there was anything better about Carhartt?
Yeah, good question. Something I learned through my interview process, Carhartt, like the actual office, the corporate office is much smaller than you would expect it to be. So I came from Advance, I worked in an office at a tower in North Hills in Raleigh. There was everyone running all over the place all the time. So that was a big change. I'm also working remotely now, so my whole team is remote, so learning how to work with my peers. We work together pretty much all day, every day was a big adjustment, but I think I'm doing pretty good now. And then something else that's very interesting, Advance Auto Parts is a retail-heavy store. They have at the time I worked there, 4,500 store locations. Carhartt also has retail stores on a much smaller scale, and of course we have our website where we sell our product on, but the majority of our business is selling to large accounts like Lowe's or Amazon, Boot Barn, Tractor Supply, because they want to sell our product in their stores. So learning how to differentiate my retail store mind to being able to service everyone was an adjustment.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyone else? Sure. This way.
I just want to start off by saying thank you all so much for your time. For those who are looking to start off in the industry, would you recommend finding an internship that's more in person or more online?
I'll start if you guys don't mind. Although I work remotely now, I think it's incredibly important to get time in an office, especially in an internship when you should be like a sponge, like learning as much as possible as you can. And you do learn a lot, but just by sitting next to someone who's worked there for a long time, you learn a lot more than maybe you would, like being at home by yourself and just logging on, like when you have meetings or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely in office. I mean, I was doing the training program about, kind of ended up or in the middle during COVID, and it sent a lot of people home, and I felt like that, kind of impacted maybe my learning experience, I guess.
What they said.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say in an office for sure. My first 2 years that I worked at Ryder were all remote, so I didn't go in a ton at all. And there were times I was sitting there, and it's truly can be kind of like an out of sight, out of mind kind of deal. And I mean, the work ethic that you're probably getting here, if that is good for you, a lot of things that you do will go unnoticed and people won't see it. But if you were in person, it's easier to soak things up from your peers and colleagues and things like that. So definitely in person.
Anyone else?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for your guys' time. But I wanted to go back to AI and kind of touch on those entry-level positions. I've been reading a lot about how some companies are trying to eliminate entry-level positions due to AI. And what can we do to combat that, or what AI skills could we learn to kind of work with AI instead of work against AI?
So for me, my team is really more of an entry-level position, and dealing with over 300 different buyers at DCs. It is very important to have that human connection. I was on the phone earlier with one of our contacts saying, hey, you said you needed this product on Monday, but you denied my delivery appointment. Can you get me my appointment? I'm at a conference. I can't talk. My phone's been buzzing, so I'm hoping I've got an appointment now. But having that one-on-one where you can call someone, hey, you scratch my back, I scratch yours sort of deal, that's great, because AI, it is limiting to a degree, but for me, as the manager of my team, I'm looking at AI as a way to take off the mundane task of just sending out blanket emails. That takes my team time, whereas if they could actually focus on that one-on-one human connection, we would be in a better spot.
Yes. Yeah, so, I mean, with AI, the way I look at it right now is really you get out of AI what you put into AI. So, I think it might be a good time to maybe learn how to use prompting in AI to, get good responses. It'll really be, a benefit going into a job interview for an employer if you're able to kind of navigate that and get the best out of AI that you possibly can, because it is beneficial. I mean, I use it every day, almost kind of like an assistant. Yeah, I would say just kind of learn how to use it, how to prompt, and it'll help you out.
Very good. I've got time for maybe one more. Anybody? No, I'll ask this question then. So, I believe, Jessica, when you started at Advance, didn't they build that new tower, like literally just finished it in North Hills?
Yeah.
Because I asked you this, and I said, have you been in there yet? You're like, kind of for a visit, but then they sent us all home. Because, so, any comments about that? I mean, you had this brand new big, you've seen it when you drive on the Beltway in Raleigh there. You can see it, it's up on the tower.
Sure, yeah, so they started slowly bringing us back to the office, which I did think was beneficial, although I'll be honest, that's why I have a remote job now. I did not love being in an office every day. But yes, going back to the first point, I do think it's important to start out your career in an office, making those connections and learning as much as you can.
Anyone else? I think we're done here at 12:45. So thank you all for coming. Thank you on the panel. all your insights. And again, we're here if any of you would like to talk about a supply chain management major, or maybe a dual concentration, marketing, supply chain, MIS supply chain, please come and talk. Thank you all, and we'll see you, I think we have a reception next. Thank you so much.